For the first question in paper 2, you're asked to investigate the relationship between the hours spent on social media and the IB diploma points. So you're given the information in this table here, and the first thing you're asked to do is to, by hand, draw a graph. Now, you're going to do this much more accurately than I am, but broadly, you end up with something that looks vaguely like this. And you should be able to see, just by looking at that there would appear to be a very strong negative correlation. So what we're asked to do once we've sketched it is, once we've drawn it accurately, I've just sketched it here. In part B, you're asked to use your graphic display calculator to find X bar, which is the mean number of hours on social media, and Y bar, which is the IB diploma points. Now, what you can do here is you can add these up and do sigma x over n and find the values manually. But if you look further down in the question, you can see that ultimately we're going to be asked to find R, which is the Pearson's product moment correlation. So we're going to have to enter in all this data. So we may as well do it now, because we can then just get the calculator to crunch the numbers for us. So what we are going to do then is we are going to hit the stats button here, and we are going to scroll across until we get the edit tab. From the edit tab, we're going to press enter, and we've got these two lists here. So we are going to put in the hours of social media X in this column, and the corresponding IB diploma points, which are Y, in this column here. Once we've done that, we are going to press enter. We are going to press the stats button here, and from here we're going to press the right arrow until we get to the calculation button here. Under calculations, we're going to go down to two variable statistics and press enter, and you can see that our values for X bar and Y bar are given here. So X bar, the mean number of hours spent on social media is 21, and Y bar, the mean number of IB diploma points, is 31. You're then asked to plot this on your graph. Before, in part D, we're asked, as I alluded to earlier, to find the Pearson's product moment correlation coefficient. So in order to work this out, we are again going to be using the stats menu, but we're going to go across to calculations, and instead of using the two variable statistics, which we used earlier, because we've got two variables, this time we're going to be looking at the linear regression results. So if you click for the linear regression results, you will end up with an value of R for negative 0.9733, etc. Which makes sense, because if you remember on the very crude sketch that I did, it was clearly a very strong negative relationship. And this relationship here is almost as strong as it gets. Remember, the largest value I can have would be -1. So this is about as strong a negative relationship as you can get. Now, as an aside, you might want to question the authenticity of these results as to whether this relationship actually exists. But let's say, for the sake of argument, we do actually take this as read and assume that it is true. Anyway, once we've got this value here, in part E, we are asked to write down the equation of the regression line. So again, that's going to be very simple. We've got the equation here. We're just going to substitute in these values of A and B. So we can see that Y is going to equal to negative 0.761x plus 46.97. So that's the equation of the regression line. In part F, we are asked to draw this on our scatter graph. Remember that should go through your point M, wherever that is on your graph. In part G and H, then, we are given a separate equation of a regression line for different data, and we are told that Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 125 over 3. And we know that this regression line here is generated on data from female students who spent between 3 and 30 hours on social media. So remember, when we are using the regression equation to make predictions, we can only make predictions on information within this range. So we've generated it from female students who've spent between 3 and 30 hours. So our predictions, any predictions that we make, are only valid for input values between 3 and 30. And as you'll see in part G, we're asked to make predictions about a girl, an 11th girl, an additional girl, who spent 34 hours on social media. Now, we can do this. You're just going to substitute x equals 34 into this equation here, and you end up with an answer of 19. So her predicted IB score is 19. However, what we've done here is something called extrapolation, and that's essentially what part H is alluding to. It's saying write down a reason why this estimate is not reliable. The key word here, essentially all you really need to write is extrapolation. And this represents this idea that we're talking about here. We are making a prediction about a value which comes from outside the pieces of information we use to predict it. So we cannot say that what happens outside this range is necessarily the same as what happens inside it. So that is termed extrapolation, and that is why our answer of 19 is probably not going to be that reliable.